Welcome to the Media Day interview with Andy. Please raise your hand virtually.
Recording in progress.
Please raise your hand virtually if you have questions. First one for Rob. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, Andy. Greetings from London.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. You may not have seen, but this week the UK government have created a £30 million package to refurbish public tennis courts in deprived areas of the country. It's a joint thing with the LTA. I just wondered, what is your initial reaction to more money being boosted into British tennis following this summer's exploits, and how important is it that to get the next Andy Murray's, the next Raducanu, is that money is spent wisely and properly?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, very positive. I knew that they were sort of going to the government to try and get some money to refurbish a lot of the park courts. I'd recorded a little video as part of whatever they were doing there. But yeah, it's great that I think for tennis anyway, the government's obviously supported that. And yeah, obviously spoke about it a bit, in the last month, just about the importance of capitalising on the success, obviously, with what Emma's done, and will likely go on to do in the future. And yeah, it's a positive step, and I think we have quite a lot of tennis courts around the country. I think there's certain areas where it could do with maybe a few more indoor courts here and there, certainly up in Scotland. But a lot of those public courts are sort of in pretty bad condition from what I've seen, and I've had since I'd commented on some post online a few weeks ago about some park courts that were had grass growing up to your knees on them, that I've had lots of people send me pictures of their public courts, so it's clearly something that needs to be done, needs to be invested in, and hopefully that will make tennis again a little bit more accessible for people to play.
All next. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, Andy. Just looking at your results since the start of the summer, I think since the start of the grass court season, you've won a match at every tournament you've played except the US Open, but I think you've never won more than 2 matches at a single tournament. Is that down, do you think, to your own lack of consistency, or do you think it's just a case that you've ultimately met better players each time?
Probably a combination. The matches that I've lost, barring Winston-Salem. I mean, this is no respect to Francis, but he's a very good hardcourt player. But the other players that I've lost to, are in the sort of top 15 in the world. Your Tsitsipas, Hurkacz, Casper Ruud, are top players, and have been this season certainly. And yeah, I mean, I've spoken about it in those matches. I have also had a number of opportunities in those matches and not quite taken them. So, partly that's down to obviously playing against top players. They're gonna snuff out some opportunities that you create, but also there's been some stuff in those matches that, I, certainly feel I could have done better. So, yeah, I'd say probably a combination of the two really. The positive, I guess, is that I've not been losing to maybe guys that I should definitely be winning against at this stage, but in those matches that I have lost, I really don't feel like I've been outclassed, or that I've had no chances against them, and it's not possible that I could win against those players in the future. So yeah, I guess there's some positives to take from those losses.
Molly.
Hi, Andy. Thanks for taking time. There was news earlier this week that the ATP has completed a report into safeguarding. They said they'd now study the report and develop a safeguarding strategy, which will include domestic violence. I wondered what your thoughts on that were, and if you think that's fast enough action at this stage, considering allegations against Zverev have been public for over a year.
Well, no, I mean, I spoke about that a couple of times in the last few months and said that I do feel like the tour could have been certainly, or should have been, more proactive in dealing with it. But I think now you have to try to look at the positives of what's come from that, and that yes, it's taken a little bit too long, but now, you know, there is going to be like a process in place and protocols in place when allegations like that are made. So I see it as being a positive step, although one that probably should have happened sooner. And yeah, obviously the investigation is ongoing now, and it's not something that, now that that is happening, I don't feel comfortable commenting on really until it's you know, run its course. And there's a verdict on that. I don't think it's fair to do that now. I think beforehand, when there was, you know, nothing going on and it was, you know, not really being addressed, it's important to speak out about that. But now, yeah, just respect that process and see what happens at the end of it.
Yasmin?
Hi, Andy. Emma Raducanu has been sort of the latest in a long line of young WTA Grand Slam champions like the Osakas, Andreescu's. I was wondering, from your perspective on the ATP, what factors you think there are in why we haven't seen the same with people in that age group on the ATP, whether it's kind of you, Stan, the big three dominating, or maybe something just to do with maturity or best of five, or...
Well, I think you probably will start to see that a bit more in the men, I would say, in the coming years. I think since you know, last few years when Serena's had some injury problems and also had some time out having her child, you know, that kind of created some opportunities, I think, for some other players to win you know, the bigger events, and the women's game certainly has been very open in recent years. I would expect that probably when, you know, the top guys in the men's start to probably stop playing, that it will become more open in the men's side. I think I don't see anyone really doing what those guys have done at the top of the men's game, and I think there's a little bit of it that's you know, a physical thing as well. You know, potentially, as I'd say, across on the women's tour anyway, traditionally, you know, you've had more younger Grand Slam champions. That's just always been the case, and I don't know if there's, maybe because there's a few more years of physical development for the, you know, the guys to catch up with the, you know, the top male players. I don't know if that's as much of a factor on the women's side, but yeah, that's certainly been, I think, across sort of history, there's been a lot more younger Grand Slam champions on the women's side.
Richard?
Andy, you've always had strong fan support, but I wondered if you just take a moment to reflect at this phase of your career, post surgeries and so forth, there really seems to be a special feeling when you're on the court in the stadiums, and just talk about how much you feel that support, and is it extra compared to what you were used to earlier in your career?
Yeah, so certainly, like, at some of the tournaments I've played, it's been really nice, because a lot of them I hadn't played there for a number of years as well. So like here, last time I played here was in 2017. You know, it was like 4 years ago. You know, and also at some of the Grand Slams as well, I, you know, had missed a couple of years, and yeah, it's obviously been nice to have great support from yeah, from the fans, and you know, that's certainly been the case here. And you know, San Diego as well, they put on a great event there, and they loved their tennis, but it was just really nice to have full crowds for the matches there again. And you know, since we arrived here to practice, like, everyone's been super supportive, and yeah, just trying to encourage me to keep going, keep trying. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do, and it's been nice.
Chris?
Hi, Andy. Thanks for your time today. I have another question on Emma Raducanu, if that's okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you. everybody I've spoken to is talking about what a fast learner she is and how she's able to pick up different skills from different teachers over the past few years. And I just wonder if you have any observation from spending time at the Battle of the Brits and then watching what she did in New York of changes in her game, developments that she's made that might have been critical to that success that she had.
Um, yeah, so I mean, I think often what separates like I think the elite athletes from maybe that level just below is that ability to learn quickly and to process sort of information. And you know, yeah, not everyone can do that, but I think often the top players and the really elite athletes are able to do that. Um, you know, I obviously have not spent loads of time on a tennis court with her, so I wouldn't, I wouldn't know, but it wouldn't surprise me, you know, either if she picked things up extremely quickly. You know, obviously the last 18 months, sort of pre-Wimbledon and the grass court season, she didn't really compete a whole lot, which maybe in some ways allowed her, you know, to make some technical changes to her game and develop that side of things when usually around that age, you know 17, 18-year-olds are competing a lot. You know, they're on, you know, the junior tour competing and then starting to sort of drip feed in some senior tournaments as well. You know, and maybe, you know, that period there gave her an opportunity to fix some maybe slight technical issues in her game, and she does seem to have improved her, you know, her serve and stuff, so and her forehand. So yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if she was a very quick learner. She's obviously a very smart woman as well, and yeah, yeah, don't know, don't know what else to say on that because I haven't spent loads of time on the court with it. It wouldn't surprise me if that was the case.
Lucille?
Hi, Andy. You play against Andrea Manarino for your first round. You had not played him since 2015 at US Open. That was another time. What do you expect of this match, please?
Yeah, I mean, he's very sort of tricky player. He is quite unorthodox and plays a very different game style to most of the guys on the tour now. You know, majority of the players are playing with very heavy topspin and have quite big sort of long swings, you know, to generate that sort of power and spin on the ball, whereas, you know, he hits the ball very flat off both sides and has, certainly on the forehand side, maybe the shortest backswing like on the tour, and he plays just a lot with his timing. Has a very quick lefty serve, which is, you know, difficult as well, so yeah, it won't be easy. Won't be an easy match against him because he's, like I said, very, very unorthodox and different to how most of the guys on the tour play nowadays.
Last two questions for Russell.
Hello, Andy. I know you've never particularly enjoyed the conditions at Indian Wells before, but I wonder if you look at it in a slightly different light this year, given what you've been through with the pandemic and all those operations since you last played here.
Actually, the the conditions have changed a bit this year. Not in sort of obviously the speed of the court and like the air and everything, that's stayed the same, but you know, beforehand the balls that they used to use here were extremely light, you know, combined with the very light air. I just, yeah, always, certainly in recent years, I did have some good wins and stuff here. It's not like I've played badly every year, but yeah, like overall been pretty inconsistent here and struggled with that. But the balls here are getting much heavier, which I really like. Always quite like playing with slow balls and fast conditions, so it's actually quite different. Finding it a lot easier to control the ball here in comparison to other years, so yeah, kind of wish it had been like that you know, in previous years, but yeah, I like that.
And does it bother you at all? Does it play on your mind that you're having to accept quite a few wild cards at the moment? And I ask you as somebody who's very tuned into the tennis ecosystem and also sensitive to the needs of other players.
What was the first part? Does it bother me? Did you say?
Yeah, just whether it's on your mind, because you'll be aware that by taking wild cards, you are potentially preventing up and coming younger players from also having a spot in the draw.
No, it doesn't bother me. I mean, obviously, I'd rather get in, on by right, obviously, but then I could also argue that the 3 years I was injured when I would have rightfully been entered in all of these tournaments for the last, however, I don't know, the last 3 years, I would have been ranked at the top of the game and would have been getting into all these tournaments. So players, would have also had the opportunity to take that spot, for the last 3 seasons or whatever. So, yeah, I think after what I've gone through the last 3-4 years and what I'd achieved in the game beforehand, I don't feel like I need to justify the reasons for why I should get wildcards. I mean, the tournaments obviously are making those decisions. It's not me. I don't make the call. Obviously, would ask for the wildcard into the tournament, and they can either say, yes or yes or no. It's up to them, and I'm very grateful that they've given me the opportunity to play here again, and to play in the other tournaments this year. But yeah, I mean, do I feel bad about it? No, I don't feel bad about it.
Thank you very much, Andy. Thanks a lot, everyone.